Hi, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Amber Smith of the Western Landowners Alliance. I'm leading and developing the Women in Ranching program. We are here today in Bozeman, Montana, live at Art of the Cowgirl. And I have the absolute luxury of sitting down with Melissa DiNino. Melissa, thank you for joining us. And why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about how you came to the West and what's been your journey of connection with this land and the people and this place?
Oh man, well, first thank you for having me. It's really great to be here with you guys. So my journey to the West. Well, I'm not, as you might guess, not from the West originally. I grew up in Connecticut, and right after graduating from college, I came out to Centennial Valley, Montana to work as a range rider. And that was the first time I'd ever been in Montana. Just like 2 weeks out of school, hopped on a plane, came out here, which was quite an adventure. And kind of since then I've moved around working as a range rider in Centennial Valley for 2 years, working with the ranching community there. Then I went to Tom Minor Basin, working as a range rider there. Also spent time in between working as a ranch hand in the Ruby Valley, spent a little time up in the Swan Valley. So I've really got to see a lot of country and really get to know, especially with range riding, really have had the privilege of getting to know these landscapes fairly intimately, which is a really beautiful part of that line of work. And
can you tell us a little bit more about range riding? What does the work entail, and how does that look? And did you come out here with the experience of having grown up riding? You had at least maybe that part, and then what was the learning curve? I think range riding is it a fairly new situation here in Western Montana, or is it something that's been practiced historically on these lands? And just tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I guess to start with kind of my skills kind of entering range riding personally, I did grow up on and off riding horses. Thought I was far more skilled with horses than I really was when I got out to here, which was really comical. So that was fun. And then I had no experience with cattle, but I was so excited to learn and just like soak up everyone's knowledge on working with cattle and working in such large landscapes as well, because that was not something I was used to in Connecticut. And then I also had experience with predators. So I had studied and worked with wolves and really learned a lot about their behavior and kind of melded those things together. Had a background in conflict resolution and biology, and the experience with wolves and horseback riding, just like melded those together to come out here and range ride, and then kind of filled in the gaps that I needed to be able to actually be helpful to the ranching communities. And range riding itself the concept itself, I feel like it's a newer twist on something that people have done for historically, being out with the cattle. But it just has a newer twist to it in the West and in Western Montana. And it's very kind of multifaceted. So part of it would be being out on the landscape every day, morning and night, out with the cattle, checking, looking for signs of sickness or anything that would make cattle vulnerable to predators, and doctoring or alerting a rancher to that so that they could doctor and hopefully prevent anything from being attracted to the cattle. I was also always tracking predators and trying to figure out kind of how they were moving on the landscape, so we could better understand kind of how to work in sync with them out there. Looking for carcasses was a huge part of the job. Trying to find them as quickly as possible, and working with wildlife services so that ranchers could be compensated for their losses. So that was, finding them quickly allowed us to perform a necropsy and identify what the cause of death really was. Some ranchers like their cattle to be handled in a certain way. So sometimes we would be using low stress stockmanship and like gathering them. But it really depended on the specific ranch and like just communicating with everyone in the community. And I think that was actually one of my favorite parts of range riding, was actually just kind of really felt like I was working at the heart of the community and communicating with everyone, and just like trying to just have everyone on the same page and learn from each producer and how they preferred to have their cattle worked. And
were you typically out on your own, or were there other range riders doing the same work in the same general location?
It depended on the landscape. Centennial Valley and Tom Minor are vastly different. Centennial Valley is this like huge, like sweeping landscape. Can't even remember how many hundreds of thousands of acres, but like there's typically a handful of us, like 2 or 3, say, range riders, and like in Centennial Valley, we would try to all head out in the same direction in the morning, but somebody would be driving the truck and trailer and like drop off one rider here, drop off another rider there, and then go the closest and like go off and do it. And so we'd try to like tackle different areas and then meet up again. But so like that, it was a matter of trying to cover so much land and so many different groups of cattle. So it took a lot more from us, and we had to really spread out. In Tom Minor, but I mean, typically for the most part, we were riding alone. And Tom Minor was somewhat similar in the sense that we would ride alone for the most part. And yeah, from there, just ride off from the ranch, because the terrain is so rugged, you can't really trailer anywhere. You just had to go and ride all day to get where you needed to be.
So how did your relationship, or I'm making an assumption here, and the assumption being that your relationship with the horse likely changed in this work. So how did that look, and did you ever get to a point when you were range riding that you and the horse were both over it? And then did you get through that together? Are you swapping horses in and out? You know, what's that look like, having that type of intimate relationship on horseback as well?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very intimate relationship, and I mean, my horse was my coworker every day, and so I had to really listen to the horses that I was working with, because not only was it like if I was or wasn't going to get the job done that day, but it was also in certain places a matter of safety too. Like I had to really be aware of where my horse was at that day and how they were feeling. And so I think, yeah, it definitely opened my awareness and kept me very humble and honest with that communication with my horse. And yeah, like there were definitely days where my horse just wasn't having it. Like I'd go to saddle and she was like, heck no, we're not going out today. And I was like, okay. And I'd have to like just accept that, and I'd try to come up with a different plan or something. Like I couldn't force things because I knew that horse was telling me something, whether it was personally with her or it was something about the day. Like there were also times when I would be out riding and like would just get a really weird feeling, and like just something felt so off, and I was like, okay, we're like, both of us felt off, and I was like, we're turning around and we're calling it a day. Or like I just had to be very in tune with my horse, because it was such an like, it was just so critical to the work, and like being that in tune just allowed me to also remain very safe. Like there were multiple times where I ran into grizzlies with cubs, and it's like being aware of her and the environment around me, like she could alert me to something like well before I noticed it, and then like I could help her kind of navigate that scenario, and we were fine. Like,
yeah. And I was going to ask if like what was the horse's response to the predators that, you know, I think if most of the time, if we're enough aware of the horse, they're probably giving us signals and cues, and they're going to pick up smells and sounds that we're just not tuned into. Did you have any situations like that that really surprised you when you felt your horse gave you an indicator of what was coming up, and you either did or didn't respect that opinion?
Yeah, I had to always respect her opinion, because I was like, you know more better than I do. I know your senses are far more like tuned into everything that's going on. So I was always listening to her, because yeah, I just trusted her that much. I had to. But yeah, there would be like, I have this very specific memory of like riding up in Tom Minor, and all of a sudden she kind of like, her ears started twitching and like we're very alert, and then next thing I knew she froze, and I was like, okay, something's up. And I scanned around me, and I don't know, 20 feet to my left, like up ahead of us, and like all of this like brush and everything, it was moving, and I was like, is that a wolf? Like, what is that? I couldn't tell. And all of a sudden I noticed it was a grizzly, and she had 2 cubs with her, but she hadn't seen me yet. So I immediately started backing my horse up, and we just like slowly, like, well, quickly worked our way back, and then just like waited. And yeah, like I would not have seen that if it had not been for having her as my partner out there. That's something I easily could have missed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know that you're also an artist. And I should say range riding and, you know, ranching and caring for these lands is art in itself. But there's another type of art that you do. Would you mind telling us about that?
Yeah. So I haven't been range riding for the past couple years now. I've somehow managed to totally switch career paths in a sense. I mean, I don't know if it's like completely or permanently or like solely that, but yeah, I've been working as a fine artist and painting, which again, it was kind of a unexpected kind of turn of events for me. But yeah, so I've been painting with watercolors for the past few years. It started in 2018, just kind of, honestly, it was for semi-fun. It was kind of in like at a low point and didn't really know what to do, and I was just like, I'm just gonna get watercolors and give that a try, and it ended up turning into something a little more, I guess.
And what do you like to capture in your art?
I mean, I feel like with all of my artwork, I feel like everything I think I paint kind of centers around like our connection with the landscape, but more, and just connection with other life forms, and I guess a lot of quiet emotion and connection, and like I love painting just really simple, soft moments that are easily overlooked or kind of fleeting.
Painting the beauty that already exists.
Exactly.
And the moments that you least expect to see that.
Yeah.
So what gives you hope?
Wow. Just going right in.
Because when Zach told me we were gonna get to do an interview with you, and I think on Instagram and got on your website, and looking at your watercolors, I guess gave me a sense of hope. Just
thank you.
Portraying the beauty of people living in their fullness and in I hope, delight in their journey and what they're bringing to the place and to that moment. So I just wonder what brings you that hope and that lightness to paint in that way.
Well, first of all, thank you. That is like the most
You're
beautiful
welcome.
compliment. Gosh, what gives me hope? I'm gonna start stumbling over my words, but oh man, just I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of things in life that are difficult to face, or like really hard questions that we have to ask ourselves, but I feel like the entanglement of everything kind of gives me hope, and like that there is a compassionate solution to everything that we face. Like it's not all, even when it looks the darkest and like we have the hardest whatever it is in front of us, like there's always some sort of light that you can find, or there's a way to turn that upside down and like create something totally beautiful and find hope in it. I don't know if that answers it.
It does. It does. I love that. And so at Western Landowners, we talk about, stewardship with vision, and stewarding and caretaking land and people and animals, and that you need to have livable livelihoods on these lands in order to continue that work. So what does stewardship mean to you?
When I think of stewardship, I think a lot about community, and like personally or as an individual, like having humility and like acknowledging that we are one small part of all of this entangled life, but also maybe seeing the hope in that and like trying to take our gifts and what tools we have to make the world around us better for everyone. Like just acknowledging, where we are in that and being accountable with our roles and in the community. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. So it brings up, I've been talking to a gal who I'm hoping will do a keynote for our virtual confluence this fall. And we were talking about a circle, and a circle as being a reflection of community. And her journey, she's shifting into a new phase of life and shifting into new type of work. And she said part of the beauty for her is in honoring your place in the circle, and honoring that that's going, to shift and change over time, but being excited that you're still part of this circle, even though things are changing and you're moving in different directions. And I just really liked that, and I found myself like in the last couple of years, I'm getting towards 40 and thinking, gosh, things are changing, and I'm feeling pretty good about my shifting position in the circle.
Right?
It's exciting.
Yeah. Like approaching it like from a place of curiosity.
Right.
And like there's always the opportunity to learn and grow, and trying our best to understand all the things that are in flux, and like how we can best connect with them and work with everything that's constantly changing around us. Like, how are we participating in the entanglement? That's what I'm going to take away from this conversation is how am I participating in the entanglement today? And is it leading towards outcomes that I'm proud of, or is it leading towards outcomes that I think, I need to reevaluate this. Like I'm not happy with where this is leading, or my own behavior in it. Or is there more you need to just understand so that you can like come at it from the right angle, or
Thanks to all of you listeners who are joining us today, and I wish you could all be sitting here under this beautiful shade tree. We're looking at the mountains, and there's clouds coming over right now, and this seems like the perfect place to sit down with a true artist and a steward of our Western lands. And Melissa, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you again. This was really lovely. I appreciate it.